When the worship team and I first started talking about Tiara Sunday, it was a day to celebrate, to radiate joy and pride in, well, just being absolutely fabulous. Fabulous in the drag queen superstar RuPaul sense, who said, when you become the image of your own imagination, it's the most powerful thing that you can do. And it is that power, the power to play and radiate gender fluidity, the power to subvert gender norms, whatever that may be, and declare that this is a place that was built for you, for all of you. And that we strive to affirm that in how we live out our principles, how we live, how we vote, how we love. So yes to tiaras. Yes to beauty. Yes to beauty, however we define beauty for ourselves. And a big yes to being the kind of place where our children, our youth, and our adults can be their full and authentic selves. But today, these tiaras have been transformed and elevated into something much more significant and urgent. People of faith throughout all time have prepared for both spiritual and physical battles through ritual acts and physical representations. Our Sikh kin wear a steel bracelet and carry a kirpan, or a ceremonial sword, to remind them daily to wage a fight against injustice. Our Jewish kin wear talit or prayer shawls to symbolize their devotion to God, and it's a symbol and a reminder of that communal solidarity. Our Christian kin remember Ephesians chapter 6 to put on the whole armor of God. And for centuries, Shaolin monks have trained in martial arts to preserve the peace, to reduce harm. And they wear a jade amulet to remind them of their path. Well, beloveds, today, these gorgeous and beautifully sparkly tiaras are a declaration of that spiritual struggle and a commitment to justice. Because just this week, just a few days ago, we awoke to the startling news of a leaked early draft of the Supreme Court majority opinion in Dobbs v. Jackson, where Justice Alito, speaking on behalf of a majority, declared that Roe was egregiously wrong from the start and it must be overhauled. And unless, and I know you probably know this, unless completely reversed, the final ruling will mean that abortion will not be federally protected, and trigger laws criminalizing abortion care will go into effect immediately. In response, our Side with Love team responded with this statement: to be clear, should this decision be finalized, it will be an intentional choice to side with white supremacy and Christian nationalism. It will be an attack on all people with uteruses, particularly and especially Black, Indigenous, and people of color, poor, rural, and disabled people. It will have immediately and deadly consequences for millions of people, and still, pregnant people have been seeking and providing abortion care for hundreds and thousands of years. As so many have said, banning abortion will simply make it more difficult for people, especially poor, rural, and BIPOC people, to obtain surgical abortions safely and legally. They go on to say, the truth is that the conversation about abortion and reproductive rights has always been about Christian nationalism, misogyny, and white supremacy. Under the guises of religious liberty and states' rights, the white owning class Christian right has been working since the end of the Civil War to subjugate and criminalize black and brown bodies, to maintain power and hoard wealth. In the post-Roe era, with the rise of the evangelical right, politicians quickly discovered that abortion was a highly motivating electoral issue to their base and have been waging culture wars ever since. Meanwhile, the Christian right has ensured that unless you are urban, white, and middle class, you will likely face significant barriers to obtaining a safe and legal abortion, even while it's still technically legal. So, beloveds, all of this is coming to a head, and soon. Now is the time to prepare ourselves by first acknowledging that this is an intersectional issue. It is about race, it is about class, it is about gender and power. It is about pushing against a limited narrative of who and what is valued in our country. It is about unifying our resolve to not be on the sidelines and allow an ultra-conservative worldview to destroy the progress that we have made. Just as the Poor People's Campaign is a national call for a moral revival, that it's not just about and for poor people, it's the way that we and others have benefited from an unjust status quo. Our work on reproductive justice is grounded in our faith. The Side with Love strategy team declares this with and for us. Our UU faith affirms that all of our bodies are sacred. All of our bodies are sacred, and that we are each endowed with the twin gifts of agency and conscience. Each of us should have the power to decide what does and does not happen to our bodies at every moment of our lives, because consent and bodily autonomy are holy. And when disparities in resources or freedoms make it more difficult for certain groups of people to exercise autonomy over their own bodies, our faith compels us to take liberatory action. Sometimes we have to be reminded that we are endowed with agency and conscience. Sometimes we have to be reminded that we have a right to expect, to demand, to insist on consent, because bodily autonomy is holy. But it's that last line that calls to us. Our faith compels us to take liberatory action. There are organizations like Sacred, the Spiritual Alliance of Communities for Reproductive Dignity, Sacred, a multiracial, interfaith collective working for reproductive health, rights, and justice. There are groups like Liberate Abortion Coalition and so many more who are preparing the ground for what comes next. Liberatory action has always been the work of the church, the work of spiritual communities and grassroots organizations, and this is not over. We will declare places like this to be spiritual enclaves for justice. We will stockpile pregnancy kits. We will offer shelter and rides and hospitality and travel for those seeking abortion care and health care. We will become a part of a network, a caring and loving and supportive network to support and leverage others to do the same. And since every major poll has shown the overwhelming majority of Americans support the right for safe and legal abortion, we will continue to agitate against voter suppression and send even more postcards to get out the vote. How many thousands are we up to at this point? More than 20,000 postcards that this congregation has sent. Because Renee Sherman, the executive director of We Testify, stated, abortion is not a divisive issue, it's a gerrymandered issue. The vote is so key to this. So as people of faith, we have always carried the light. The civil rights movement, the Poor People's Campaign, started in the Black church, started in the churches and the synagogues, the temples, and the places where doing the work of good started. So we carry on this work today. And yes, we declare with our beautiful tiaras that we delight in their sparkly beauty, because today and tomorrow and for a time to come, these tiaras represent so much more. Life and death, so much more. Because we are called to something greater, grounded in our faith, in service of the common good and our collective liberation. So, beloveds, go and wear that tiara. Shine your joy. But know that inside our resolve is steeled and ready for the fight. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.